A little more than 6 months ago, I did a video on a Kickstarter that I thought was really interesting. It was an art book of various swords throughout museums across the globe. This was being done by a comic artist whose name is Chris Schweizer. I did the video interview with him, talked a good bit about it, and I've been waiting on the delivery of this Kickstarter, and here it is. So I actually want to open it up and take kind of the first look at it, do a bit of a flip through the art book and just kind of see what we're getting here. I'm very, very, very excited for this. There's a lot of reasons, and it's becoming more and more evident to me that these are the type of things that I actually want to support. All right, so lots of cool stuff, bubble wrap. So there are a lot of extras that came with this, and one is this field book, which is it's just a little notebook. For those people who don't know what a field book is, it's actually really great for camping, but it's kind of got this custom paint job on it, and it is raised. I'm not entirely certain how this was done. Kind of looks like whiteout. Kind of interesting. Wonder if he kind of like made a stamp for it, hand stamped it with whiteout, because that's definitely like not printed. Pretty neat. There's also something of like a Christmas ornament here. Says, "Use thy sword to aid thy neighbor." So, all right, pretty cool. And of course, this is again done that kind of comic art style. Then there is a little mini sketchbook called Swords with Names and Their Famous Wielders. Again, this is all art by Chris Schweizer, and this is kind of like I think one of the expanded things, one of the goals that was met. And so you get basically kind of like fantasy or Swords of Legends. Oda Nobunaga has a Dojigiri. You have Joan of Arc with the Sword of St. Catherine, Perseus with the Harp Sword. You have Fergus, actually, I'm not sure how to say that name, with a very interesting Kalad sword, kind of a Bronze Age style. You have Ali ibn Abi Talib, which has Zulfiqar. I'm not quite sure if I'm saying that right. If I'm not mistaken, Ali ibn is pretty famous within like kind of the medieval history of Europe as well. You have Saint George with Ascalon. You have Ding Zha and Zhao. Not sure I'm pronouncing any of that right either. With Zan Lu. You have Sigurd with Grom. You have Rudra with Asi. Sasaki Kojiro with the Drying Pole, which is like a really, really long, kind of Odachi style sword. Tizona and Colada for El Cid. El Cid, of course, yeah, I take a step back. I think we're used to seeing the El Cid sword. Something interesting is actually being done here in that one specifically, which is you actually get the silhouettes of very common versions of that sword. It's kind of interesting. You have Attila the Hun's Sword of God. You have Arthur's Excalibur. That's a unique take on Excalibur there, kind of going back again to the, very early Middle Ages, if not kind of Dark Ages period in terms of how swords would have been constructed. Going back to kind of a Romanesque style armor on Arthur. Pretty interesting. Roland with Durendal. Leloy with Thuin and Thien. Pretty cool. And let's see if there's any more. Oh, one more. Lui Bang with the Shi Zhao. And so these are all, this is Chris's art style, comic style. And again, this was like a stretch goal, kind of just a piece just to kind of marry it up with some interesting things that go beyond the historical pieces that are in museums. Got a couple bookmarks here, one of a Roman gladius, and another of a katana, and a khopesh. And let's see. We get some other art. I believe this is art that it was either not in the art book or is kind of additional, because I think it's going to be like 100 swords in the art book. And wow, they're just really pretty. I love his art style, and I think it serves really well for this type of thing. So swept hilt rapier from Germany, about 1600. These aren't. There is going to be an original in here, by the way. These are not originals. Um, we have the Flamberge rapier, which is Italian, 1620 to 1640. We have the English swept hilt rapier, around 1590. The Italian longsword. This was one that I know was being given away as an original when I was getting to choose one of my originals. And I really like this one quite a lot, but I didn't go for it. The Writhen hilt sword. I was really expecting to see this one, but I wasn't sure we were going to. I really love this sword. I have long thought about getting a replica of it, but I just haven't. It's a really cool sword, though. And a French longsword. Very cool. Another one in here is Excalibur. So again, this is the one that is, if I take the historical or legendary character art book, this is actually pretty cool. He's got two versions of the same art here. Put them side by side. If I flip it upside down this way, then you kind of get to see them from different views, which is really cool. I wonder what he has based this on at this point, because I do know that he does a lot of reference art. So maybe I'll reach out and ask him, and if he responds, maybe I'll put an answer in this video, if he responds in time. Very cool. I want to stack these up. Nice. All right, let's see. We still got more. We have the Kusanagi no Tsurugi. Again, not sure if I'm pronouncing any of that right. Japanese Yayoi period. That looks like a kind of like Bronze Age style Japanese sword. Interesting. Here's a cool one. His take on Narsil, Middle Earth's sword. This is the sword that was broken in the Battle of the Second Age with Sauron. And very cool. So I'm going to look at this one a bit more. I think one of the things that's interesting about the Peter Jackson films is the way that they did arms and armor was a lot more high Middle Ages and fantasy, and a lot of Tolkien's design, or kind of, I'm not going to say Tolkien's designs, he wrote books, but his basis for things would have been a lot more kind of early Middle Ages, late Dark Ages period. And so a lot more of the inspiration would be like Viking style or migration era. And that's a lot more like what this looks like. But very cool. I like this one a lot. This is an original. Basically, the people who had backed the project were able to choose an original they wanted. And we went through, and I don't know where I was in the line, but basically once an original was claimed, it was claimed. And I went through the options, and two things are true about this art. One is I wanted the most kind of basic representation of the Middle Ages, and I can't think of anything that speaks more to the medieval European period than just a simple arming sword, and that's exactly what this one was, so I wanted to go for it. Secondarily, this is also one of the pieces that does not appear in the book, so not only is it an original, but I wanted to be able to let all of you all see this one and get a little gander at it and be able to appreciate the art that Chris does. So this one will likely go in a frame. I don't know about the other ones yet. And then this is the art book itself. It's A Dream of Swords, a collection of drawing by Chris Schweizer. This is an autograph. This is really cool. You can actually tell that this was actually hand-drawn in and done with watercolor because a little bit of seeped on the other side of the page. So this makes this a very original piece. I get to enjoy the fact that this is going to be one of a kind in its own right. Now, a couple things are going to be true about this as I kind of flip through this book. One is I want to be really cautious to not devalue Chris's work by showing too much. And so I don't know how quickly I might flip through this or how much I will show. I might skip things like the introduction here, read that myself. I don't know what Chris's plans are on actually selling this book outside of the Kickstarter program, but I want to be able to respect his value of his own work and be really cautious of this. And there's a couple of reasons for that, actually. One is I am that's a cool dedication. I want to be really careful because I find this type of art even more important these days, especially with AI generating a lot of art these days. Someone's whose hand and actual skill is put to paper, in this case with pen and watercolor. I want to be respectful of that. And so what you have is each page is going to just be its own image of a sword with a little bit of information about the sword, where it's from, what period it's from, and basically a name for the sword. So ring sword, Anglo-Saxon period, horseman saber, an American late 1770s. So you're getting a large breadth of possible inspirations in areas of the world this has come from. So I'm flipping through some of these just so you can see. And likely what I will do is edit this video down to the ones that I think are really worth showing off, but not all of them. And so this is a great example of kind of the detail he'll get into with some of it. It's really easy for detail to kind of be lost on a simple blade, but one that's got a lot of decorative elements. He's still capturing the spirit of that in his art. And I love this. I love that this is kind of a study done on these swords. Look at this Italian longsword. That is just beautiful. When I was in Germany over Christmas, I actually saw a lot of different hunting swords, and so it's kind of interesting seeing one done in art. This one's got this interesting sawtooth thing on the back of it. That's pretty unique. I don't know that I saw anything like that. I'd like to know more about that. So here's a Rithen sword, which I showed the other art for, and the falcata. I'm going to start flipping a little bit faster till I get to one that I really want to talk about. All right, so here's a very interesting one. This one is basically a coral hilt sword. I saw a couple of these. I was in a museum for the Hafberg collection, and they had some coral hilted swords, and it's a very interesting concept to turn coral into the grip of a sword. Of course, you got a Scottish basket hilt here, classic, and a Zweihander from South Germany. Look at that. That looks immense. Gotta love it. And so going back to Scottish here, we have another claymore, the one colloquially called claymore. Of course, it's just a great sword from Scotland. This one had a German blade, apparently. That's pretty interesting. Oh, this is really interesting. Look at this Indian sword. A Vekavoral. Not sure if I'm saying that right. Vekavoral. It's a 19th century Indian weapon. And, of course, nice Chinese hook swords, which are very interesting. All right, so here's one that I thought was really neat. When I actually got a sneak preview of this one when I was selecting my original piece over here, this parade sword. This would have probably been done in ivory, I would guess, but where it's got all this carving, in this case, nude figures. But more interestingly with that, when you're seeing a lot of the German swords, when you go to museums, their level of artistry seems unparalleled. And that's a really, really interesting looking sword. I didn't want that for my original piece. That was not interesting enough, but I did think that it stood out. Indian guitar. I still want one. Still have never gotten one. All right, so actually, check this out. It looks like this one did actually make it into the book. Still no regrets. I'm glad that it did make it into the book. It seemed like a shame if it didn't. So there we go. There is my original in the book, page 78. Must have been a mistake, a typo on the thing. Again, I mostly actually went for it so that everyone would get a chance to see it. But since it's in the book, many people will get the chance. All right, and here's one of the other ones that I really thought long and hard about if I could ever get an original of it. I believe this one was still available when I looked at it. The two-handed sword, German. As someone who primarily in HEMA studies the Germanic longsword tradition, something Germanic would have been really cool. But I'm still very happy with going with a classical medieval arming sword. All right, and so I've gotten to the end of the book. Again, likely I will not be showing every single image in this book. I do want some of it to be something that is can be appreciated by the people who actually purchase a book from Chris. I don't know again what his plans are going to be, whether or not he will continue to sell them beyond the Kickstarter. I certainly hope so. I hope that the Kickstarter really got it to the point of publication and he can start selling it. But what's really cool here is that there is actually an appendix, and now I'm even more excited about this book because it's going to give us information about the swords that he just kind of quickly wrote notes about. So if I go all the way back, for example, to page 1, I have the swept hilt rapier, English around 1590. Well, the actual appendix for this says that this comes from the Royal Armory in Leeds, the UK. I assume the term rapier is derived from rapier, meaning to steal or carry off. It's the foundation of the word raptor, a bird that swoops in and takes its prey unaware. Probably not, though. It's most likely the name for râpé or cheese grater, whose form is early guard suggested, though there's also debate about its name, if it's Spanish in origin or if it means worn as in fashion, worn with as in fashion. So some notes that he's putting in there. Now I want to go look up mine. Mine was page 78, right here, the arming sword. So let's go find number 78. Okay, so I have page 78 here. Number 78 is an arming sword, again from the Royal Armory in Leeds in the UK. He says, I accidentally drew this one twice, 2 days apart. I only included one of them in the book. Interesting. Okay, wait. No, it is definitely the same. It looks like the same one. The watercolor setting is basically 1 to 1. So this should be the same art that's in the book is here in the original. But it's possible he had 2 originals, and that's why one may have been marked as not appearing in the book, but it does in fact appear in the book. So that makes a lot more sense. But yeah, having the appendix is really cool because it lets you have a bit of a moment to understand where he's actually been to get all this in for get all these drawings done and how many museums he's visited. Gives you a little bit more information on some of them. Some of them you can see have really, really long descriptions. And so when I see it, I see a long description. It makes me want to go take a closer look at the one that he's done the art of. So, for example, we have this one from Germany, page 103, and what he says about this is from the Musée de l'Armée. I don't speak French either. Paris, France. The body of this blade is like that of an estoc, either pyramidic with a wider side on the back or rectangular, turned at a diamond angle. He couldn't tell for sure, which was because of the angle of how close it was to the wall, and or at least the cabinet was to the wall. So he couldn't quite be sure of the blade geometry. To allow it to have that firm rigidity with the tip flattened out into a wide leaf. So you can actually see, that's really cool that you can see what he's talking about right here with it having that flared tip. It means it was intended for stabbing wild boar. Yes, it's very common with hunting swords to have that, certain types. These swords are relatively short lived, as the boar spear with its wings to stop the charge made a lot more sense when trying to finish off a giant pig who had few qualms about deepening a thrust by charging up to the weapon if it meant getting at its attacker. So, very cool. I like that. I like that he gets some extra notes in there when it seems appropriate. And then, again, I wanted to just I'm going to show this page. Really important again to me. Uh, Chris, it was really nice talking to him, and I appreciate him taking a different approach to something and actually taking a bit of a risk. Kickstarter is always a bit of a risk, but it's just amazing. It's so cool. And so I'm really, really excited and happy that this got done, that he got it out. I have done many Kickstarters that haven't ever gotten that far, but Chris seemed on the good up and up, and he'd had some good successes under his belt with Kickstarter. And so, yeah, kudos to Chris for getting this done. It is a beautiful take on a subject that I think is near and dear to a lot of our hearts. The just the beauty of these swords, and they're captured in an art style that we don't see very often. And again, I think this is the type of thing I'm most interested in supporting these days, is an artist who's putting their own skill to work to give me something that is really beautiful and I can flip through and enjoy. And this is really neat, as almost like a quasi coffee table book, a nice little kind of conversation starter. I think I'm actually going to probably 3D print a stand and have this kind of on display, maybe even behind me. Who knows? But I do think that this is worthy of a display. I actually have a few swords that I have done various or not swords. I actually have a few books that I've done kind of crowdfunding things for, and I usually put them on display because they're really amazing. So, thank you, Chris, so much for doing this, for getting this out. Oh, look, that right there. That's a spot for an ISBN number. I really hope he actually starts selling these. I hope he makes these more broadly available to people who maybe aren't willing to take the risk on a Kickstarter, but would love to have this book. Beautiful book. Great job, Chris. Again, for everyone, this is A Dream of Swords, collection of drawings by Chris Schweizer. Absolutely beautiful job, beautiful work. Very, very happy with my original. I'm going to get that framed. I'm going to get these things on a display. I like the extras. The extras are pretty cool. But really, to me, it's all about the book and the original. I hope you enjoyed kind of taking a peek at this. It's always something a little bit different to do this type of video. And as you probably noticed, I'm changing my setup a bit. I realized that YouTube's hard sometimes, especially when you don't have a lot of time to make a video. And so I'm trying to do some content shift to maybe get more videos out. Realistically, at this point, I've been kind of considering where things are with the state of my YouTube channel and what I would do with it. I'll probably make a different video, kind of a channel update video about it, going to my full thoughts. But this type of content is one that I really enjoy doing. Being able to showcase someone else's work, amazing work. To me, it's an awesome chance I get to do something and get some exposure for someone they maybe normally wouldn't have. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you all in the next one.